Okay. Let's start the YouTube stream, which I hope everything is now working. Yeah, because it's been a while since I've done one of these, I'm kind of just a little bit anxious if I've got everything working in the right order. It's like mic check, got headphones working, is everything going okay? It seems to be okay, but as always, if I'm just miming now, if nobody can tell what I'm doing, just ping me a message in the YouTube chat and let me know if it's all going complete tits up. But I'll assume it's going fine. And hey, I just want to say, hey guys, it's great to be able to sort of communicate with you guys again. It feels like so long since I've done one of these things, and yeah, which for anyone who's not been kind of following what I've been up to, and there's no reason you should because it's not particularly interesting, around the middle of January, due to my real life job, I had to go and do a lot of back-to-back business trips. So since about the 16th of January, I've just been away from home, just traveling all over the place. I've been to like 3 different countries in Europe. I went across to the States. I went to 3 different states. I was just going backwards and forwards all over the place. And it's actually been really cool. Don't get me wrong, I'm not whining about it. I've really enjoyed getting out there and sort of getting a chance to see some places, see some old places, see some new places, meet some people. But that's why I've had one of the reasons I've had a kind of a bit of an absence. So there's not been much new content coming out. And it was my intention to get back into doing these kind of live streams pretty much as soon as the new year started. But yeah, I'd say this just kind of derailed everything. So now I've got this huge backlog of things. And I just thought, rather than sort of, because I'm a bit of a control freak, I had all these ideas in mind to sort of make a big relaunch and sort of get things going, have some new things, some new features ready. But I just thought, fuck it, I'm just going to get on with it, because the most important part of doing something like this is actually just doing it and getting a chance to interact with you guys. So for anyone who's sort of takes the time to join and you know ask a question, leave a comment, then awesome. It's great to be back here and talking to you guys. For anyone who doesn't know what the setup is here, the gist here is that this is a kind of like a live call-in show. So we can have a conversation, and we can do this a few ways. If you want to, you can ask me anything in the chat and we can sort of talk that way. But if you want to be a speaker on the show, you can call into the show, and you do that through the Discord group. So if you look in the description on this video on YouTube, there's some instructions there about how you can become like a guest speaker here. And basically all you need to do is go to Discord. I'll just bring up a quick screenshot. So if you're part of the Discord server, in the top left corner, you'll see there's a channel called Stream Call-In. If you join that, it's part of a live event. This is simultaneously happening in both YouTube and in Discord. And basically, it will there's a section where you can join, and you can press a button to raise your hand. And then basically, I can then bring you up onto this sort of stage in Discord, and we can have a conversation like on Discord, just like we're on, through any sort of like voice over IP thing, like as if it was a Skype or a Zoom call. And that conversation will then be broadcast out as part of this YouTube stream. So if anybody, if you want to have a chat, if you've got something you want to say, you've got a particular story, something you want to share, something you want to ask me, even if you want something that you want to sort of pick apart, something that you've disagreed with that I've talked about in one of my videos, then by all means, feel free to come and have a chat about it. Otherwise, I'll just sort of ramble on about the stuff that I've been up to. So I'll just take a quick look through the comment just to see who we've got with us. So Alex, Ivan, Matt, India, Long Live Jar, Milan, Darren, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to join. I'll just want to talk a little bit first about these trips that I'm taking. Trips, I mean, as in like physical journeys rather than the tripping sort. Hold on, I'm sure we'll get into that. Oh shit, I should take this screenshot off, shouldn't I? That's better. It won't be much of a live stream if I'm just showing this fucking Discord screenshot. But yeah, so it's really solidified in my head some of the things that I feel like I want to do. Some of the directions that I want to take things, not just necessarily with this channel, but with basically with my life. It's really, I had some ideas that were planted, and getting the opportunity to go out and visit places. And as part of one of these visits, as I mentioned, I spent some time in the US, and I got to meet some of you guys. In fact, some of the people who I can see here in the watching. So, and it was just so cool. It was so cool to meet and interact and to see this online psychedelic community sort of manifest in sort of physical shape. And this idea that, through something like this kind of YouTube channel, and through, online communities like Reddit or Discord stuff, that you can sort of really forge these real world bonds. And it really got me thinking that this is something I want to do more of. I'm not exactly sure how this is going to play out at the moment, but it really just clicked the sort of light in my head that, yeah, I want to sort of somehow be able to sort of get out there more and maybe have more kind of events whereby, sort of meetups basically. And this would certainly require me being possibly a lot more mobile than what I am now. And again, that's a logistical challenge. So I'm not saying that this is something that's going to be happening all the time, but even if it was just something that happened, say like once a year, and I don't know, again, then that gets tricky with what the location is or where you hold this thing. But yeah, this idea of a meetup, a sort of a group meetup, I think was really awesome. We had a very small meetup when I was over I was in Nashville, and it was really cool. I really enjoyed it, and so I'm kind of torn at the moment between these ideas of having something where it's kind of fixed in one place where people can come to. So I mean, this would be almost like going along the ideas of like having a retreat somewhere, doing a sort of retreat that people who from this channel could sort of come to, and we would all sort of meet up in sort of and do psychonauty things, no doubt, together within a sort of a structured sort of format, or whether it's something like I described of just kind of, for want of a better term, going on tour, which I guess is really what I've just done, and sort of getting out there and sort of meeting people and just going around, because I enjoy traveling. So it scratches a few itches. It gets me out there, seeing new places, meeting new people, and just building connections. And I think that's the thing that really sort of I don't know, manifested in me, was this idea of making sort of connections and making something bigger. When I say bigger, I don't mean to sound too grandiose. I'm not talking about sort of building temples or anything like that. I'm just talking about sort of boots on the ground connections to people. I loved it. I loved having that opportunity, and I've certainly I get so many kind offers from people saying, hey, you should come to where I live, and come to where I live, and you can stay with us, and you can do this. And it's I don't think I'd ever really taken it seriously until this recent thing in the States. And so now I'm thinking, yeah, okay, maybe there is something here. And also it ties into some stuff that's going on with just kind of like where I'm sort of at in my life. I'm kind of like planning ahead a little bit for what the sort of the future holds. So at the moment, I'm kind of, as you may have heard, I'm at home. I've got my wife, got my two kids, and so that situation is not changing anytime soon. But in like sort of 5 years from now, then yeah, at that point my kids will probably sort of either have left home, or they'll certainly be big enough to sort of do their own thing. And I'm sort of wondering, like, what does the future have in store for me? And I want to start getting some ideas in place now, so that when I get to that point, I'm not kind of figuring it out then. I've already got sort of a plan in mind, and that sort of is leading me more to this idea of like, yeah, having some kind of space where people can sort of come and sort of just drop in, some kind of, I guess I am thinking along the kind of like the retreat kind of format, but something less formal, something just more of I don't know. I'm just purely just throwing ideas out now because I've like I said, this is very early days. I've not really thought on anything, but I guess my utopia vision is, for some kind of, if we can imagine a retreat, but rather than this kind of structured format of it starts on, say, a Sunday and it's like a 7-day retreat and you sort of, pay X amount of money and it's like and I'm not dissing that format. Anyone who watches my stuff knows I love that kind of retreat format and the structure that you get from it. But I think there is a different model in there somewhere, which is more community based. The idea of like something where it's you kind of can just drop in and drop out and sort of contribute to the things you want to contribute. So say there was just some kind of like ongoing like retreat. Just imagine like a retreat just drawn out over a long period of time, say like a couple of months, say, and that people could just drop in whatever day they wanted to. They could take part in sort of whatever sort of ceremonies were happening. Perhaps different sort of practitioners are coming in, different kind of shamans, different sorts of medicine are sort of coming in, and you just stay for the bits that you want. You sort of drop in. But then there's also other activities going on whereby it's like, there are sort of community meals going on, community activities going on. So it's really acting as a kind of a nexus point, not to be too buzzwordy or too sort of lost in my own, like I say, grandiose ideas, but something like that where people just come, you spend X amount of time and stay for whatever period of time you want, contribute in some way that sort of covers, the costs of you being there. So I'm not talking about doing something, completely for free, or that just attracts like a lot of hippie freeloaders, but something that, you just sort of come, pay for what you use, take part for what you want to take part in, be part of that community in a physical way. We sort of break bread together, eat together, sort of talk together, share together. And I'm thinking something along the lines of that. Now, how that, I guess that's almost leaning more towards, I think you call them like sort of like eco villages or that sort of thing. And what the logistics of that or the viability of that, or whether it's like the finances of something involved around that, I've got no idea. Like I say, I'm just fresh back from the US with a head full of ideas, and thinking, this is, if there is a way of doing something like that, that's what I'm going to start investigating. It kind of adds on to some ideas I've had previously, whereby I've been looking into, buying some land somewhere to sort of build a house on for sort of me and Rachel. And this wouldn't be where we live at the moment. We won't live in Switzerland because Switzerland is crazy expensive, and we just could not afford to buy a cat litter tray, a permanent dog kennel in Switzerland. It's so expensive. But we're looking at other countries, perhaps somewhere in Europe. We've also I've considered somewhere in like South America. But I think I'm from Europe, so in terms of having such a financial commitment like that, I'm more comfortable within the sort of the European space than I am going sort of dealing with like sort of banks and stuff and the sort of legal situation in South America. But I'm quite open-minded as to where this thing could be. So my kind of ideas was like, maybe buy land, build house, and then sort of within that build some additional infrastructure along the lines of like, like a Maloka, some sort of, some spaces for like sort of meditation, that's that sort of thing. And then, the sort of expanding that out and, invite a few people over, see if it works out, just kind of work through, what this might look like in terms of, being able to hold that kind of space, because this is something I've kind of wrestled with a little bit, probably since the start of this channel. Like I get messages from people every so often, like, oh, you should facilitate medicine ceremonies, and I've always resisted that. Like, no, that's not my thing. I'm more of a partaker than a sort of doer. But again, some of the experiences I've had as part of this traveling were just meeting people, and there was some psychedelics involved, and it kind of a little bit of a fire inside me that, oh, actually, maybe I do feel this kind of more of a bit of a call to service here. And again, this is only the very first sparks of this idea. I'm not talking about me being a shaman or any of that kind of shit. That's not me. I got a lot of respect for these traditions. I can certainly see a situation whereby, like in that sort of scenario, bringing in sort of shamans. So a bit like when I've sort of been to retreats like ayahuasca spirits, and sort of shamans from Peru have come over to Europe and they've held ceremonies here. I could see sort of facilitating that within this kind of thing. So I'm not imagining me serving ayahuasca, but I'm certainly imagining sort of me sort of, facilitating, say, something like with mushrooms or with DMT. These are things that I'm much more familiar with. But again, we'll see. I'm trying not to get sort of too grandiose and sort of carried away with my own thing. And again, I just want to put out there that these are plans I'm talking for, like way down the road. Like we're talking a good few years. So yeah, if anyone's thinking that this is me opening up some kind of retreat center anytime soon, it's not. But I'm just sharing the ideas, and if any of you guys have got any input into any of this, and please, by all means share. Like if you've, like I say, people have been sort of coming up with ideas. Perhaps someone's already doing something along the lines of what I'm described, and if they are, then yeah, I mean, feel free to sort of reach out, because I'm in a kind of a noob here. I'm trying to work out, but I just think, I've talked quite a bit over the last couple of years about this idea of community, and that's where this whole Discord thing come from. And in fact, this live stream thing came from this idea to sort of make the sort of the one-way YouTube channel into a sort of more of a mutual conversation, a bigger community, something that grows bigger than this online space. So yeah, I'm really just investigating ways of making that sort of real, and also being extremely conscious that through a certain frame, what I'm describing sounds like a DMT cult. so yeah, that's the last thing I'm kind of looking for, is just to end up stuck on a piece of land somewhere with a load of goddamn freeloading hippies getting completely fucking loaded, and then we all just start completely drinking the Kool-Aid and shit like that. So anyway, I'll see there's a few people commenting, so let's have a look, see if anyone's saying anything. From a long-lived jar: when you trip on DMT, do you see the same visuals when your eyes are open as when they're closed? Yeah, I mean, sort of, mate. Yeah, it depends on how much DMT you've had. So DMT, when you start, from the start of the experience to the end, has a gradient to it. And how far that gradient goes will depend upon how much DMT you've managed to get into your system before it sort of manages to start getting flushed out. So you go through phases of, you take, say a small amount of DMT, say like, 10 milligrams or something like that, and you'll start noticing visual effects just with your eyes open. Things will begin to sort of phase backwards and forwards, and you get this kind of like everything sort of looks very, begins to look sort of almost like some kind of a cubist painting, and then that will sort of ramp up, and then you get to a point where when your sort of eyes are open, and you'll start seeing sort of geometry, and then when your eyes are closed, you'll see the same geometry, and then you get to the sort of the final point, and this is the point of the breakthrough. And this is where it just doesn't matter anymore whether your eyes are open, because what you begin to experience stops being dependent upon your eyes and your ears and stuff. Your thoughts begin to kind of speed up, and so you get, people talk about feeling like they're being squeezed through the top of their head, and it just squeezes them into this new reality. Just comes online, this new mode of consciousness. So it's basically like the the model of reality with which we're kind of operating now, that pretty much just gets bypassed. So what is happening has got nothing to do with your eyes anymore. It starts happening sort of directly in your in consciousness, in your imagination, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, at that point, when you hit that breakthrough point, yeah, eyes are irrelevant at that point. You don't need eyes for where you're going at that point. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. But I would say before that, the sort of point before that breakthrough, then yeah, you get to a point where eyes open, visuals, eyes closed, visuals. It's just kind of sacred geometry all over the place. Okay, from Robert, have you had any encounters with ET or any types of beings during your DMT episodes? I hear that a lot, so I'm curious. Yeah, mate. I mean, if you go into my channel and there's a playlist of my trip reports, and those kind of trip reports vary from me sort of just describing narratively something to sort of trying to reimagine some of these experiences. And yeah, absolutely, I've had encounters with, well, like I wouldn't necessarily use the term ETs, but I would use the term entities. Now, what that term actually means is different things for different sort of people. So by entities, what I describe it is something that feels separate and autonomous from me. So I am having an experience with some kind of presence, or often presences, there are multiples of them, which no longer feels like me. I'm having a conversation or a dialogue in my own consciousness with something that is not me. And often that will result in being given information, or at least feeling like I'm being given information that is not coming from me. So that's what we kind of mean by autonomous entities. And yeah, this is an extremely common feature of DMT. I would say it's probably one of the things that draws a lot of people to even explore DMT, because the idea of having this is so novel. Just think about it for a second. The idea that you can have an experience within yourself whereby you are communing with something that does not feel like yourself. And physically, nothing has changed. Your physical body is still sort of sat where it is. But experientially, an entirely new model of reality is going on. Like, you are in a different world, not even a different world, a different universe. And you are transversing that universe with seemingly like godlike abilities of transversal, like teleportation and the ability to sort of be in multiple places at the same time. In fact, that's another common occurrence, that you may be having multiple experiences all at the same time, which then at some point will converge back into one. And yeah, within that, you will find these autonomous entities, what Terence McKenna often referred to as machine elves, although I personally absolutely hate that phrase, because to me, these are nothing like elves. In fact, to me, they're always like highly... there's, I'd say actually it's a bit of a mixture, but the most common ones that I encounter are like hyper-evolved human beings. It's like human beings evolved to its most perfect state. They're almost something closer to the typical X-Files like alien, like, like the Greys sort of thing, but less kind of threatening and sort of evil looking. These are recognizably human, but just kind of evolved, and they will typically be like floating in like through sort of either through the powers of levitation or through zero gravity. They will be just conjuring impossible objects out of imagination. They will just whatever they are imagining will just begin to manifest. So we're talking like sort of intricate puzzles and toys will just begin to form out of their hands, which will then, and these toys will then begin to sort of transform and imagine other objects. Often they do this by singing. They sing things into existence, and the songs themselves will then sort of begin to construct, say, like levels of mathematics from it. From the music will become mathematics, which will then condense back into sculpture. It's incredible. I mean, it's really is one of the greatest sort of experiences possible. But yeah, the entities are definitely a part of it. Again, very sort of common feature. I think probably most people who've done DMT, or people who've had that breakthrough experience, will often encounter entities. It was kind of interesting. I was, as I kind of just mentioned, I was facilitating some DMT for a friend just a few days ago, actually, and they had the feeling of entities, but it just manifested just as a feeling of a presence. So they just felt that something was there, and they said that this was a very masculine sort of presence, but it wasn't really anything beyond that. There wasn't any sort of dialogue or interaction. So they can manifest in all kinds of ways, from little sort of gremlin type creatures through to these alien things that I've described, through to pretty much anything like godlike super beings. I think I've probably waffled a bit around the question, but the answer is yes. If so, and if you go and check out some of the playlists on my channel, there's a trip list playlist. I think the one I would recommend is I've got one called something like it's called DMT Trip Simulation, a 5-minute something through hyperspace or something like that. That one's kind of focuses a lot on the kind of the entity part of things. So let's have a look. So someone's saying I should. Oops, God, this is you chat thing. Someone's saying make a Facebook group or Messenger group or Discord, and then come up with prices, and the rest will make itself. Yeah, I'm guessing referring back to the kind of the retreat thing here. This is something I've kind of tested the water with. So if any of you guys are on my Discord, by the way, if you didn't know, we do have a Discord. So there is an Adeptus Psychonautica Discord. The links are in the channel banner. So if you're not already there, go and join that. So it's a really cool community. And yeah, I kind of floated this topic there a while ago. I was pondering on, like, I was putting the idea out. Like if we did a retreat, would you guys be interested? And there was some interest, and then it was just kind of, I must admit the logistics of doing something like this are kind of a little bit overwhelming. I don't mean to make that sound like it's impossible. Of course it's not. But then you start having questions like, because you're broadcasting that invitation to everyone across the world. So so where's a good place in the entire world? Where's the best place to get everybody together? Like everyone from Europe, everyone from possibly from Asia, everyone from the US. Where's the best place to get together? Okay, well, that's a challenge. Okay, so this kind of led me to some of my other things, like, well, maybe there's not one best place. Maybe this needs to happen in multiple places, which kind of leads me back to the kind of thing around moving around a bit, maybe touring around a little bit. I've already kind of floated this idea, and I think the first step would probably be to do it on quite a small scale, to do it somewhere in Europe where I'm sort of more familiar with and where it would be sort of easier to set up, fully granting that that's not going to cover the sort of the full spectrum of the sort of community. But I think this is something myself and sort of Rachel will need to test out and sort of make sure that we can actually pull this thing off before we try and, like I say, I don't want to do. I'm trying to avoid the fire festival of psychedelics here. I don't want to do something where like ridiculously overpromise something and everyone gets really hyped for it, and then when they get there, it's just shit. So, I'm just sort of working stuff out in regards to putting something out on Facebook or then. I'd probably not do it via Facebook, to be honest. I think that the problem with Facebook is Facebook's very easy for people to say, we'll do that, we'll do that, and then sort of very little action comes of it. I'm really disenchanted actually with Facebook as a platform, and I'm sort of very much toying with the idea of like just completely binning it off. If it wasn't for the fact that I've got people on there who I want to stay in touch with, I'd get rid of Facebook, because I just find it shit as a platform. I don't find it productive at all, really. Particularly not compared to, say, like Reddit or YouTube or Discord. These are my main go-tos. Twitter, even less. I do have a Twitter account, but I just don't use it at all, and I'm not sure I want to get involved in that kind of shit show. But yeah, so I think if there is any sort of planning and if there's any prototyping of this, I'd do it on Discord. So anyone who wants to be a part of that discussion, go to the Discord, and there's a channel there called, it's called like Retreats and something. But go and check there, and yeah, I'll probably try and flesh out some of these ideas a bit more in there. So yeah, let's have a look. So, yes, from Long Live Jar again. Get a spot here in America. Massachusetts isn't expensive like Switzerland. It might not be expensive, mate, but it is a long way away. And also, yeah, I mean, I must admit, I've got reservations about me moving full time to the States. I don't want to go down any sort of political or patriotic rabbit holes, but there's clearly like the legal situation around some substances is not optimum in the States, particularly the ones that I'm sort of most interested in around stuff like DMT. Also, the kind of the situation around sort of healthcare in the States seems a little bit crazy to someone from myself, like from the UK, where that's all kind of free. So yeah, I would probably not relocate permanently to the States. That doesn't mean I won't come and do events in the States, which I've pretty much what I've just done. But yeah, I don't think it wouldn't be a permanent situation. Have you ever smoked DMT while tripping on acid? Yes. Yeah. Short answer, yeah. Did it quite recently, actually. I say quite recently. I think I'm forgetting just how fast time is moving at the moment. For me, this is almost like this is like the 1st of January 2022. I cannot believe we're in the middle of February already. Time has just gone on so fast. So yes, I have done DMT while on acid. It was pretty fucking amazing, to be honest. But I think a lot of that was purely down just to the place I was and the people I was with. It was a very social space. We did it out in nature. We were next to the lake, near where I live. We just had a really fun time. It was really awesome. We weren't trying to have sort of big deep breakthroughs. We'd had a kind of like a social amount of acid. It was funny as fuck. We were just constantly laughing. This is me and Rachel and some of our friends. And then I got out one of the sort of the DMT vape things, and we were just sort of chugging away on DMT on top of it, and it was just it was bonkers. We were out, it's beautiful. Just try and picture this. So it's this kind of beautiful sunny day. We're out under these huge trees. There's a lake in front of us. It's Swiss scenery. It's just absolutely beautiful. And then we just sort of chug a bit of DMT, and it starts, basically the world just starts cubifying, pretty much like what's going on in this background behind me. So I was looking up at these trees, and the leaves just kind of go, just turn into like Transformer Tesseract cubes, and just the kind of like the world just kind of, I remember like the audio of the world just zoomed out, and I was just went into this like quite deep DMT experience, but I wouldn't go as far as to call it a breakthrough. But yeah, I mean, I guess the short answer is yes, I've done it, and yes, it's a lot of fun. And I think if you're going to do that, then having one of these sort of vape setups with the e-juice, also DMT dissolved e-juice, a bit like sort of myself and Minty Love have made plenty of videos on this. I'd say Minty's probably a better resource here for the stuff on his channel. So yeah, if you have one of those and it's something where you can just be sort of social and pass it around and have these kind of sub-breakthrough doses on top of whatever amount of acid you've taken, I think it's a lot of fun. I wouldn't if you're going to take much heavier doses, like say if you're going to take a lot of acid, then you might want to think about how comfortable you are out in sort of public from that. From Alex Mellon, have you thought about Portugal? Ayahuasca and DMT are legal over there. Yes, Alex, in fact, that's exactly where we're looking at. So when I talk around my plans of buying some land and building a place to do this, Portugal is pretty much the top of my list there, because first of all, it's in Europe, so it's it's not a huge jump from Switzerland. It's still relatively close to all my friends and family and things like that. And obviously, like I say, I know where I am within sort of Europe. And yeah, the legal situation over in Portugal is extremely favourable to this kind of to exactly what I'm describing. So Portugal at the moment is top of the list. I can see that if this does happen in a kind of a permanent fixture type place, that's where it's probably going to happen. That might change, say, if other countries sort of become quite as welcoming to the sort of psychedelic scene. Also, I mean, Portugal is just a lovely country. I've been there before. It's absolutely stunning. It's got really nice people. The language isn't too hard to sort of grasp. It's certainly a lot easier than German, where I live. So yeah, I would say, yeah, Portugal's probably it, to be honest, or at least it is at this point. As I'm sort of formulating ideas, then I'm formulating them pretty much around Portugal as a permanent base for this kind of thing. There's a huge sort of scene over there as well for this kind of retreat tourism, eco-tourism, whatever you want to call it. People work, because another sort of factor of what we're doing here is of what me and Rachel are toying with is the idea of, really trying to do the typical hippie thing. We want to sort of grow our own food. We want to sort of, have a lot of space. We could, maybe keep some chickens and stuff like that. We want to keep bees, going to get some beehives. So, be able to sort of have something which, as well as being a place to live, becomes a kind of a project. So like keeping bees would be a project, or sort of, making our own, growing olives and stuff like that, growing our own fruit, making our own wine or something. All the typical hippie shit. And it's, something that we could do alongside these kind of these sort of psychonaut activities. So yeah, it's Portugal's very exciting. I think that's definitely where I've got my eyes at the moment. From Aliens, I'm just gonna do a quick interlude here and just remind anyone that I'm just reading through the YouTube comments at the moment. But if anyone wants to have a conversation, don't forget you can sort of take part here. You can sort of call in and we can have a chat about stuff. And just remind you can do that through the Discord server. So if you're on Discord and you go into the stream calling and you want to have a chat, just press the button to raise your hand, and we can sort of bring you up onto stage and we can have a real-time conversation. But at the moment, no one's biting. I'm wondering, when I did this stream, I wasn't sure whether I sort of kind of promoted it properly and that enough people were aware of it, or maybe everyone's just bored of listening to me. So, but anyway, I think I need to do a better job of promoting these things. But I just got to a point where I just thought, just get talking to people. But hey, since I've just done that little segue advert, I can see someone's got their hand raised. So Hyperspace Holidays, you can come and speak, you can come and have a chat.
Hey Rob, how are things going? Can you hear me?
They're going good, mate. I can hear you loud and clear. How are you doing?
Okay, perfect. Not too bad.
Not too bad? Come on, mate, you can do better than that.
I know, right? Haven't had the good old DMT in a while, so...
Yeah, but you and me both, mate. I mean, it's funny, like sort of being here doing my Psychonaut YouTube channel, and yeah, pretty much since the new year, I think I've only done like myself personally. I think I've only done like one small kind of like psychedelic experience, and yeah, because otherwise I've just been sort of distracted, and I've facilitated other people doing it, but not myself, and so that's kind of it's been another kind of weird thing about all this traveling I'm doing. It's like, okay, I need to make time for me, because this is kind of an important part of my sort of my life, and my sort of like what I see as my sort of psychological well-being is making time for myself to explore that. So I'm with you, mate. It's been too long for my liking.
It's super easy to get distracted by all this regular stuff, and forget that we're living in a galaxy, in a universe full of all kinds of weird stuff.
Well, it is, mate. Yeah, and I think that's like it's another thing that I sometimes wrestle with, like, because when you're, I'm going to sound a bit whiny here, a bit sort of pretentious, but when sort of doing particularly like doing something like YouTube or doing it to the schedule that I like to do it, where I'm putting stuff out, say every week, or that's what I normally try and do. And then, yeah, it ends up becoming like, okay, am I, when you start having stuff like psychedelic experience, you're thinking, okay, am I doing this just to make a video about it? Or did I actually do this for me? Like the line between where your identity is like, okay, am I the YouTuber now? Am I going to talk about this? Or am I just going to shut the fuck up and get on with this experience? Like sometimes it takes me a while to sort of like detach back from this idea that I'm some sort of fucking roving reporter or something like that. So it gets a little bit. I hope that's not something that you have to grapple with, because it can be a bit of a pesky one. But what's been going on with you anyway?
It is. I feel the same thing. You know, since I also started on YouTube, I'm also walking like a fine line where it is, if I'm doing this for myself, if I'm doing it for YouTube, and when I ever get. And if I sorry,
you still there, mate? Are you cutting out a little bit? Hello.
Sorry, just my girlfriend just
no worries, man.
Wanting something.
That's the joys of doing things live.
Absolutely. And she's like, "Oh, who are you talking to?" I'm like, "I'm on the thing. I'm on the show." He's like, oh.
We're broadcasting live, so, God damn it! Show some respect.
Yeah, and I was telling you about what you're saying about YouTube thing. You're like, as soon as I start having this dilemma, do I need to do it for YouTube or do I just want to do it for myself? I'm just like, I just forget about all the YouTube stuff and just make sure if I'm in the right mindset to be doing this, and I want to really do it for myself.
Yeah, I think it's probably actually quite a common thing at the moment. It's probably more common because kind of everyone is kind of broadcasting themselves on some level. I mean, this, you know, the typical Instagram, Facebook thing. Everyone is, whether you're actually making videos or like we do or not, everyone's kind of pushing something out there of how they are having these experiences, you know. So whether it's through a photo or through a text post or something. So everyone's kind of playing this same game, and I actually think I think YouTube is slightly better for this, because I think it allows the space to have more of a sort of a dialogue to explain these things. But I think something like Instagram or Facebook, whereby people are trying to summarize an entire experience through like one image and make it this perfect image of like, hey, this is me on retreat, like, oh, I had like this transformative experience. It's like, it's very hard to do that, I think, with authenticity. I think it's very easy to get sort of lost in their own sort of, within the sort of like the ego there and within the sort of the presentation element. But yeah, it's a weird thing. And I think from someone who's been doing this a while, my only recommendation would be just make sure that you make that bit of time for yourself to sort of, I think there is stuff where I think it's useful to have experiences to comment upon them, but also when it comes to this sort of crunch and you're really looking to, like, don't forget the reason that you kind of got into psychedelics in the first place was to explore yourself, not necessarily just to make videos about it. That's how I always try and keep myself level-headed with it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and this is why I started YouTube is, you know, because my girlfriend is all the time asking me, oh, what do you see? How come it's so cool? And I just thought that other people might be interested.
And does she not partake? Does your girlfriend? Is she not?
Not really. But we're going for an ayahuasca retreat this year.
Oh, excellent! Where is it you're going to?
So, we're going to Peru. We just want to do it the authentic way.
Excellent, mate. Excellent. I'm planning on going back myself. Originally I was going to go back around about sort of March time, but yeah, with all the travelling I've just done, I just thought, forget it. I'm not doing any transatlantic flights for a couple of months. I need to just get over that amount of travelling. So now I'm looking more around maybe end of May or June, something like that. And I'm planning on doing a 2-week plant diet probably at a centre called Morosa. Although I haven't sort of booked anything yet, but that's what I'm looking at for the moment. So, but yeah, just basically just myself. So it wouldn't be Rachel coming with me, but probably doing like just over 2 weeks, about 2.5 weeks somewhere. Going to a ketos, doing a couple of days in a ketos, and then doing like a sort of a 2-week diet, which is it involves sort of ayahuasca, but mainly it's focused on where you sort of ingest just a certain type of plant, where you sort of it's almost like it seems like the sort of the route to becoming a shaman. Again, just to be clear, I'm not trying to become a shaman, but this just where you ingest these sort of plants on a daily basis, and you basically just kind of flooding your system with these plants. This is supposed to open up an entirely different kind of experience. So I'm kind of interested to see what that is and sort of have that experience for myself. So yeah. So I don't know, mate, if it's going to later in the year, then maybe we might be there at this similar kind of time.
Oh, but we've already booked it actually for April.
Oh, right, cool.
Just a week though. And about the diet, actually you were saying that you're going to be a shaman. I think that you're already a shaman for a lot of people here on YouTube.
No. Well, I would definitely push back there. I mean, I appreciate the sentiment, but I do think it's important to have a distinction between like what a shaman is and what, say, someone like myself is. So, I mean, whatever it is that I am doing here, and it's always a compliment to hear that it's resonating with people. But I don't think of this as if I guess if I did become anything, it would be, say, facilitator at best. I think it's important to sort of recognize like a shaman as someone sort of doing a certain kind of craft in the same way you'd recognize like a doctor or a brain surgeon. If somebody handing out medical advice on YouTube is not a doctor. So I think maybe that's just me being a bit pedantic, but I do appreciate the sentiment though.
Hey, and about this diet, have you done it before? Because I know a lot of people put really big importance on it.
Yeah. No. So I've not done it before, and it's been something that's been on my radar for a kind of a long time. It's kind of first came to my attention when I think it was actually my very first ayahuasca retreat when I was in Peru, and this is where I kind of sort of made friends with and sort of. I was working with a shaman called Wheeler, who's a guy who does ayahuasca spirit, and I was talking to him about my epilepsy, and he was sort of basically saying that you can. He didn't use the word sort of like cure, but he was saying basically you can solve a lot of the sort of the symptoms and the issues around epilepsy by going on one of these plant diets. Now that was something of great interest to me because this is something I've kind of had all my life, and it was something I would gladly get rid of if I could. So I was quite skeptical when I heard him say that, because I've been, when you're brought up within a certain kind of system of medicine, you're like, drinking tea that makes you completely trip your tits off, that's one thing, but curing sort of brain conditions, that's another thing. But really, I mean, since my experiences with things like ayahuasca and other plant medicines, I've become a bit more open-minded, and my sort of thought is, well, try it. Let's try it and see if there's anything here to be had. So I'm trying to go into it with a completely open mind. I've not done this before. I've known people who've been on these plant diets, and I have, yes, some of them have reported great success with them. Typically, the ones where I was kind of which kind of resonated most with me were people with sort of diabetes have been able to really control the symptoms around diabetes by doing these sort of very also obviously there is a diet element to controlling diabetes anyway, but it's part of the mentality of maintaining that diet, and they sort of the ability to sort of to stay on those kind of diets they credit with doing these kind of these plant dietas. So yeah, I think there's and I've certainly heard other people talk about that this is just the most amazing experience ever, and it completely changes the way you approach psychedelics. So I'm interested in that. So I'm just going to see. I will go, and I think I'm doing the one I've got in mind is a 2-week diet. I don't know what plant that would be dieting. That's usually something that gets chosen for you once you get there. But yeah, I think that would be that would be basically my first toe dip into the world of plant diets.
Well, that's really interesting. I was watching some documentary recently about some shaman that are basically did the same thing, but I guess for a few months or something. So just some plants and just ayahuasca. So imagine how your worldview is gonna change after something like this.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a guy who was on retreat with a few years in. He went and he was actually on the path to becoming a facilitator. We both went out there at the same time, and I was just there for a retreat, and he stayed for months and months and months. And as part of going through that sort of process to become a sort of facilitator, he was like dieting plants, just doing sort of weeks and weeks and weeks of these plant diets. And he reported some extremely profound shifts in how he was like perceiving the world. Like he was talking around like almost like living in like a kind of like a dream state. And I can relate to this a little bit, because when you do something like an ayahuasca retreat, because you're just doing sort of like ceremony after ceremony after ceremony, by the time you get to like sort of halfway, even like through a week, the way you are viewing just even the waking world is very different. It does feel like you're almost in like a sort of a different reality, and I know it's the same kind of physical reality. I'm not talking about that you're constantly walking around tripping, but the frame through which you view these things just shifts very slightly, and things seem different. I know I realize I'm being incredibly vague here, but that it certainly just takes on a more sort of ethereal quality, and I think that's my kind of expectation around this kind of plant diet, that if you flood your system with a certain kind of thing, it will change the way you feel. And I think we can see this even in our own kitchen. If you completely flooded your system with something, say like sugar, or if you started just eating really sugary foods or really carb heavy foods, then you do start noticing changes in the way you perceive yourself, the way that you physically feel, the way that you perceive. You might be sort of feeling sort of more hyper, more tired. Again, this is a very simplified view of it, but it kind of makes sense to me that if you were kind of going to flood yourself with certain kinds of things, if they were sort of psychoactive, that it's going to have some kind of effect. It's going to change the way that you view things. So I'm intrigued. And I'll just have to sort of see whether I actually get ready to booking that. But that's my plan so far.
Probably you're giving me inspiration to start a diet of my own before going to the ayahuasca retreat, because I know they're recommending like at least 2 weeks, a month before you actually go. Eat certain foods, things like that.
Yeah, I mean that's a different thing. So there's a diet and there's a dieta. Sometimes I forget which way around these things go. But the diet before you go, the sort of the restricting certain kinds of food, I followed that fairly closely. Now some people follow it to sort of crazy levels, and depending on which center you go to, there's a lot of variance here between what people will tell you need to do. There's some places where it becomes ideological rather than what's traditional or even necessary. So, there's some centers where you go to where they'll say, you have to eat completely vegan or whatever like that. And I would say if that's the rules and that's what you've agreed to, then you should probably do it, because that seems respectful. If you're going to a place and they say this is the rules of this place, then start getting your head around the rules or go to a different place. But the actual traditional sort of setup for those diets it's quite plain, but it's not. I don't find it overly restrictive. So what I usually end up eating leading up to and while I'm on retreat is chicken, rice, beans, lentils, just basically most vegetables, most fruits, And really the things that you're kind of avoiding are red meat, and anything particularly spicy or anything particularly salty. So you want to kind of reduce like the salt and sort of spice levels. And so people think this kind of is like super restrictive, and I don't think it's that bad at all. A lot of my common meals going into one of these retreats would be, just get some chicken, mix it with like some a tin of tomato, tin chopped tomatoes, make some sort of chicken tomato-y casserole-y thing. Put some herbs in it. Herbs are fine, just not spices. And then eat that with, say, like with rice or with lentils or something. And I'm fine with that. And that's pretty much it. It gets you used to the kind of stuff that you'll get on retreat, which will be along those lines anyway. And the cool thing about it, or the good thing about it, is that, particularly if you're like me, you lose like so much weight, like especially coming from like Christmas and New Year, where I just really overeat. Then I've got about a good few kilos I could lose. So you come away from it, you do like a retreat, and at the end of it you just look awesome. You're just like, oh, I'm so this is my new physique, it's gonna last forever. And then you have to come back to the to your normal world, and everything's just telling you to eat junk food and chocolate and stuff, and it's that's a struggle. But the diet part, I mean, it will depend on how much you're into like sort of sugary foods and salty food and stuff like that. But if you can just go with like chicken, rice, beans, peas, lentils, that stuff, it's fine. I think it's not too drastic. And when you get to Peru, then there's loads of restaurants which cater. They've got special menus for the ayahuasca diet. So they're kind of experts at cooking. So they'll do stuff which is really tasty, really good food. It's so cheap as well over there. Like sometimes you go to a restaurant and you get the bill, and I just want to like laugh for joy at how cheap this is compared to somewhere like Switzerland. So it's a holiday for your wallet as well as a kind of a spiritual holiday.
That's pretty cool. I was listening to Terence McKenna the other day, and he was talking about one of those ayahuasca retreats he went on, and he was saying that the ayahuasca that was given to everybody on the retreat, to the casual people, quote unquote, was with the lower, how to say it, not lower quality, but the
like dosage
effects, the dosage, the concentration was different. But then he was talking to a shaman afterwards, and they had this other ayahuasca that was just for the shamans, that was the really strong stuff. And he was saying then, like, give me some of that. I don't want the diluted.
I don't want the tourist shit.
Exactly, yeah. And that's actually what I want to avoid, kinda. I don't want to go all the way to Peru and just drink something diluted. I don't know. What is your experience with this?
Yeah, so I would say that's accurate. There usually is there is the stuff, and then there is usually somewhere there will be a bottle of like the ultra stuff. So I've pretty much had that experience. I went on a retreat once where I was drinking the sort of the normal stuff, and it just wasn't going there with me. So on the last night they gave me the ultra stuff, and that was orders of magnitude difference in strength. Now I will say that was just one particular time when that happened. Most times I've been there, the normal stuff is plenty fine, and they will give you pretty much as much as you want to drink of it. And we're only talking like small cupfuls here. We're talking like something around the size of like an egg cup. So when you go there on the first night, they will sort of give you a predetermined amount. They'll say, okay, everyone gets, say, 1 cup, and the cup is this big, and you drink it, and you see where you are with that. And then at some point in the night, they'll say, do you want another cup? And then you can get up and say, yeah, I want another cup. Actually, can I have a big cup? Because that wasn't enough, actually. And still, so even if they give you twice the amount, we're still talking like 2 egg cups. We're talking like, it's something you can still gulp down. It's very easy. So it's never a problem to ask for more. And like, I mean, if I took the last retreat that I was just on in September, I I was drinking like cups and half a cups, and I was having, I mean, I don't know if you've seen any videos of me talking about the experiences I was having there. I was completely gone. So sometimes there's just no need for the ultra heavy stuff. Sometimes the normal stuff is plenty strong. And it's only really when if you're absolutely not getting anywhere at all, that's where they break out the sort of the tank buster sort of weapons of mass destruction sort of stuff.
But do they see this based on a reaction, or you need to ask them?
No, you need to talk to them. So every after each ceremony, you have the usual sort of format is that in the morning you all gather together and you will talk about your experiences of the night before. And if your experiences are actually that wasn't, I didn't really get anywhere, it wasn't, then you just, that's the point to tell them basically. Or you can go and talk to them if you want to do it privately, go and talk to them afterwards. But at all the retreats I've been, they are completely there for your well-being. They're not there to try and gatekeep you away from this thing. It's like they're just trying to facilitate it, sort of safely for you. So, but if you say to them, that amount that I had last night, I actually want to do double that amount tonight, just to start with, and then maybe I might want some more later on, then sure, that's absolutely fine. I was on a retreat with a guy. It was this huge. I mean, I'm tall. I'm like 6'4". This guy was a beast in every direction, and I think he drank something like about 8 cups of ayahuasca. Now I took one and I was floored. Okay, and this guy was drinking 8 and asking for more. So they will cater to you, and everyone's different. Everyone's got different metabolisms and stuff like that. So it's not a case of, hey, here's your 1 cup, now fuck off. Like they'll listen to you. Just say, okay, I think I need some more. I'd like to go deeper, and I'll say most centers will be happy to sort of do that for you. Just tell them what you need basically.
Okay, that's really good to know, because I think I'm gonna run into the same problem. I'm 6'3". And usually when I was doing the MOAIs with the DMT, when I was taking it orally, I needed a lot of it to get the effects. And even when I was trying homemade ayahuasca, I had to drink a lot to get just any basic effects. So I don't really want to waste my,
absolutely
3 sessions of ayahuasca.
Yeah, I was the same as you, mate. My kind of mentality was, look, I've come all this way out to Peru. I am not, I came here for something. I didn't come here for nothing. I came here for something. So I'm going to make sure that I have something. So, I think the very first time I went out to Peru, I was probably a little bit cocky, to be honest. And one night I just said, like, give me 2 of those big cups. And it was, that night I completely shat my pants. It was, literally shat my pants. It was, and at that point I was like, okay, ayahuasca, point proven. I'm gonna dial it down a little bit. But like I said, they'll just be sure to sort of talk to them. Just that's what they're there for. They're there to facilitate the experience, that you're looking for. So talk to them. They'll all the places I've been to are absolutely happy to have that kind of discussion with you. But just coming back to the MOAI thing you mentioned, where did you get to with that? Because I know you were experimenting a little bit with the kind of the dosages, like where it would like sort of 75 milligrams, or do it under the tongue, or 100. Like, where did you find a sweet spot in the end?
It's always it's so hard to measure it at the end. So actually, I've been taking it for more than a year now. I've been doing it on and off. But basically, whenever I feel frisky and going deeper into the experience, I just put a little bit. I don't even measure it that much. I just have a small, just a small spoon, and I put it under my tongue. And the last time I did it was a couple of weeks ago, and it was completely bonkers. I put maybe no more than 100 milligrams under the tongue, and then I did it 4 times in one night. I smoked the 4 times in one night. Oh
wow, you're hardcore.
Yeah. Right, yeah. Because I really, sometimes I'm really in the mood where I'm like, okay, let's go down this rabbit hole and see what the universe is all about, right? And I did it. So I took the MOAI under the tongue. I waited 20 minutes. I did it around 50, 60 milligrams of DMT, complete awesomeness, up to everything was super cool to the third trip where there were those two absolutely perfectly real alien beings on some spaceship with some object in between them. And I was just sitting looking at them, reality completely replaced. And I'm sitting looking at this, and that's not what I completely gave up of trying to make any sense of this, because this was there's no way to make any sense of that. So what I'm finding is it has different, the effects are different depending on how long it is in your system. That's why I'm kind of experimenting with it with the time. When I was eating it, when I ate the MOAIs and then ate the DMT, only once I got a really good trip. When I tried it a couple of weeks later, I literally ate more than 300 milligrams of DMT, and I didn't see anything. So
yeah, I'm the same. I have to do quite high doses when I do it orally. I think the most I end up doing was like sort of 250 milligrams, and it's weird because when I actually when I do ayahuasca, I get the impression that it's not, I'm not doing that amounts of DMT. But for some reason, it just hits me a lot stronger with ayahuasca. I mean, but then again, I've got no idea what's in the cup anyway. I'm purely just sort of guessing at that. But I've not even gotten around to talking about my kind of vapor ayahuasca sort of MOAI DMT experiences. And this was nothing. I was planning to make videos all about this just after sort of Christmas, and it's just kind of completely got lost in the mix. So I've got this backlog of experiences I need to talk about. I think the video I made of me talking to sort of like myself as a DMT person, that was pretty much my MOAI DMT experience. that whole thing of talking to myself and being told that this entity is kind of like Clippy the help mode, sort of the trying to solve, like help me put my brain back together. That was me on that MOAI plus DMT. So I wanted to sort of do something more where I describe that a bit more in a sort of a more sort of serious way, because it was a fucking crazy experience. It was bonkers.
And the video was super entertaining. I watched it.
Oh, good man. I'm glad. I mean, it just kind of, because I was kind of perceiving this as me dealing with this kind of like almost like a psychedelic help desk. like
remember.
And it was that, and that's what it felt so much like. I thought it just seemed so funny to me. I thought I've got to try and recreate this. But obviously when I was going through the experience, it was going on across like multiple dimensions, and it wasn't just as quite as simple as me talking to another person. It was me talking to the universe, and it was like the universe was the one sort of answering me back and trying to help me. And it's like, oh right, okay, human, I see you've broken your brain. Let's try and let's put you back together again. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm such a fucking idiot. I'm like, I'll be more careful next time. Like, it's okay, Rob. Don't worry. So yeah.
It is exactly like this one-on-one with the universe, and it's just blowing your mind.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. I mean, I don't think I'll ever get older.
I've gotten the out of under the tongue MOIs and smoke DMT. I've gotten the most, the deepest I've ever wanted to go. It has not disappointed me in the intensity,
I don't think it could disappoint anybody, mate. It's just it's the stuff that goes on there is it's just fascinating. I don't think I'll ever get sold, and I'm just kind of at the moment I'm just sort of looking to find the space to actually get back into it, because I go through periods with DMT where I do it a lot, and then I'll sort of like not do it at all for probably like periods of like, I don't know, 6 months. So I think even like a year or two I've had sort of absences from it, and I've just done quite a lot just before Christmas again, which kind of culminated in this MOI experience. I was doing it like every day for about a month leading up to Christmas. So again, this is stuff I want to talk about and make videos about and stuff. So there'll be some more DMT content coming soon.
Good stuff. Always looking forward to your videos because you have such a unique way of representing the experience.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, I'm just trying to. I think I'm just trying to represent it in the kind of the way that it kind of appears to me, as which is deeply profound, but also just absolutely absurd. It's absurdly profound. Even it really just kind of does reveal just what bizarre creatures we are, and the sort of the bizarreness of the things that occupy our minds, and just how sort of, I don't know. It's almost like if we were aware for a second of what is possible within the universe, your head would just explode. And so just to be able to get that snapshot of it, and like, yeah, it's so funny, it's so humbling, it's so amazing, and that's I think I just try and represent that in the best way I can, which I think is in nowhere close to what it actually is, but I don't know. It keeps me busy. It's fun. It's fun trying to think of ways to show it.
Of course, I think this is as good as it gets with words. The words can get you already so far in trying to explain this.
Oh, cool! I'm glad you enjoyed, man. That's like I say, the biggest compliment I think I can get, because I'm just like, does anybody relate to this? Does anybody else just think this is insane but awesome at the same time? So it's always cool.
It's definitely awesome. I think that for somebody who is either has done it, I think they're gonna be able to relate to it, and even for somebody who has not done it but just heard of it, they're gonna be like, okay, this looks pretty interesting. There's definitely something about that.
There is indeed, mate. So it's been awesome talking to you. I'm gonna just move on back to some of the people in doing the comments, so I can see a few questions coming back in. So no
problem. I'm gonna keep listening and talk to you later.
Awesome. All right, dude. Bye, mate.
Bye.
So I see I've got a few questions popping in. Where's it gone? Oh god, this chat thing keeps pinging off in crazy directions. Have you heard any beings that talk to you like Terence McKenna? No, not specifically like that. Like Terence, no. I think I'd probably when these things are talking to you in these experiences, they talk in ways that are just, I'd say to even call it talking is kind of nonsense, really. It's dialogue. It's like almost like psychic, telepathic dialogue. I think I'd probably be a bit disappointed to find Terence McKenna in there, because really the things that you find in there are extraordinary. It's not really like finding like your next door neighbor or somebody. It's finding like the future evolved version of humanity, like I said, these alien type things. So it's short answer, I've not found something like Terence McKenna. Are peyote and mescaline any good? And do you see the same stuff on all the different psychedelics? Okay, so peyote, I've not done peyote, but peyote is San Pedro mescaline. These are all mescaline based cacti. San Pedro I've done several occasions, and from all the accounts that I've heard, the peyote and San Pedro experience are pretty much identical. I've also done pure mescaline on its own, like as an extracted thing. And I really like San Pedro, so I really like the mescaline experience. Do you see the same stuff on, as in like something like a tryptamine based psychedelic, something like DMT or mushrooms? No, not at all. It's very different. It feels different, like the body sensation is different, and the sort of visual sensation is different. I've never had mescaline to the extent where I felt like I was having one of these kind of like complete breakthroughs, these kind of reality swap. And I've done mescaline like quite a lot. I've done like a lot of mescaline like in one session. And I think like one time I had like sort of like your typical sort of dose of sort of mescaline, when you have this like cactus powder, it might be something like, say, like 2 spoonfuls of cactus powder in a cup of water. I had like 3 cups, each with like between 4 and 6 scoops in. So I've done like a lot, and I was tripping balls. But it's very different, like to as if you'd done, say, like a lot of mushrooms. It's euphoric. It's got this warmth and this body feeling to it, which sort of, I would say, is closer to like the feeling of like MDMA. It's that kind of body euphoria. There is visually, shit is going on visually, but it's not the same as the kind of the tryptamine visuals. It's very, I forgot how to describe it. I just remember it's very golden. I don't know if that's an adequate description. Phasing golden panels, I think. When I was, the last time I did it, I was in Italy, on a retreat in Italy, that just specializes in sort of mescaline and cactus medicine, and we were on this hillside overlooking this valley. So this is like this perfect Italian valley with just like, fields of olive trees and something like that. It's like out of like one of the Godfather movies, and it was this beautiful sunny day, and there's just the sun's just lighting up the golden fields, and it just looked like heaven. It was amazing. So yeah, I mean, I guess if the question is like, is mescaline worth exploring? Yes, absolutely. I think it's a stunning experience. It's, like I say, it's very different. One of the main differences is just how long it lasts and how long it takes to come up. It takes fucking ages to come up. So we drank these cactus juice drinks in the morning at like 10 a.m. in the morning. I think it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon before I sort of hit the peaks, like a 4-hour kind of come up. And then the time it lasted, at midnight, I was still tripping my tits off. So again, we're talking like a 12 to like 14 hour sort of trip here. So from 10 a.m. in the morning till midnight, and I was still, shit was going on still at midnight. So if you're going to do mescaline, first of all, this is not necessarily something you want to do at night time, because you'll just be awake all night and you'll be completely knackered. It feels better to do it during the day, when you're out, if you can get out and walk around in nature and stuff. So a short answer is yes, I've done mescaline. Yes, I like it a lot, and I'll probably be doing another San Pedro retreat sometime this year. From William, I've tripped on LSD when I was in my teens. Want to try DMT. Been to Stonehenge many times camping and seen folks use it coolly. Well, we're in good company then, William, because I used to spend a lot of time at Stonehenge when I lived in the UK. Every year for the solstice, me and all my friends, we'd all descend upon Stonehenge, and we would sort of be there for that sort of solstice celebration. And we used to go there and do acid and stuff like that. So I've never done DMT at Stonehenge. I do sort of, before all the pandemic stuff hit, me and some friends, we were planning on, we were throwing around the idea, let's do something at Stonehenge. So maybe I'll be back there sometime, and maybe again we could arrange something, a little psychonaut corner off from one of the Saracens. We could sit there and set up a few blankets, and as the sun comes up through the sort of through the henge, we can just sit there and blast off. Well, again, I'm blue sky thinking there, mate. We'll see what happens. So I said, would I be able to take it myself at home? Well, DMT, yeah, sure, mate. I mean, I take it at home. I think most people take DMT at home, particularly if you're saying, can you take it at home as opposed to Stonehenge? So yeah, definitely. Not everyone has got a Stonehenge on hand. You can definitely take DMT at home. From Black. Oh god, okay, just gonna be a tricky one. Yes. Someone's asking, what is a MOAI? Yeah, the answer is a monoamine oxidase inhibitor. It's something that makes DMT last longer than 5 minutes, basically. You take a substance called an MOAI, and then it kind of affects the sort of the enzymes within your stomach that break down DMT, and so it allows you that when you take DMT, instead of having like a 5-minute trip, you have sort of more like a 15-30 minute trip, possibly even longer. It's what's one of the components that's within ayahuasca. Let's see what else. There's a lot of stuff around MOAIs. How did you come up with that background, buddy? Short answer is, this is from White Lives Matter. How did you come up with that background? Last night, me and my wife did some, and then it was amazing. Pharaohs and pyramids were the main memories I took away from the breakthrough. I cannot take any credit at all for the backgrounds I use here. So these amazing backgrounds that I use and you see pop up in my videos, these are made by an artist called Yuon Visuals. He's an artist I found on Instagram. He makes sort of packs of these kind of backgrounds which like creators like myself can buy. So he was fully paid for his work. I think his work's amazing. I'm a sort of big fan of him. And if you go on Instagram and search for Yuon Visuals, you can come across his work. And also if you watch a lot of my trip reports, then you will see some element of his work in there, because I'm a huge fan, and as you can see, it's like really high quality, awesome, trippy stuff. Does a lot of cubes cascading in on themselves and folding back out, and I did a video with it was like sort of had like baby Yodas dancing and sort of flying cats and shit like that. That was all done by Yuon, so very talented sort of visual effects guy. And a lot of the stuff that I do here is stuff that I get from other artists. I'm not that good an artist myself, so I'll just give a few shout outs. The logo over here was created for me by Art of Ethan. So he's also on Instagram. The camper van was just some images I found online, and I just cut out the windows and stuff. And as I mentioned, it's Yuon who does the backgrounds and stuff. I do a little bit of my own art, and you see some of that on. Occasionally I push some of that on Instagram. But also this is done by Art of Ethan, who also did that. So a lot of the stuff on my merch is like made by other people. I wish I was more artistic. Let's have a look. So people, I think, talking around the sort of community vibe of like doing sort of one-on-ones on Zoom and stuff like that, and getting a group together. I would say for the moment that's something that that part of the community is really what I'm trying to sort of foster in Discord. So again, I really want to put that message out. If you're into that kind of, that sort of, if that idea excites you of, having a sort of a community in the online space where there's more going on than just text chat, where we can sort of voice chat and sort of video chat and stuff, then Discord is the place to do it. And I definitely need to do more here. I need to do more in Discord, just within the Discord community, about sort of getting sort of more group stuff going together. I think one of the bits I've found in doing that previously is that people sort of sometimes just view it just like kind of like a live stream, like it's sort of me kind of just like they'll just leave me to sort of talk, and I will talk because I just ramble on. Whereas really I would love for people to get sort of engaged and sort of I'm happy to sort of like facilitate these conversations, but I think I'd like to see more of the community like partake. Otherwise, it's just more or less just a live stream. But if you're interested in that sort of element of having conversation and stuff, get on the Discord server. Tell us about it, and we'll set something up. What's her name? Has Jimmy from Philly called back? Jimmy, I actually had some communications with Jimmy because, bizarrely, I ended up in Philly. So when I went to the States, I was originally supposed to fly directly to Charlotte in North Carolina, but I ended up getting put onto a different flight, and I ended up spending about 6 or 7 hours in Philadelphia. And when I got there, I posted, I'm in Philadelphia. And Jimmy just immediately messaged me like, "Where are you, mate? I'll come and message you." And I was like, "Jimmy, I'm in the airport. I'm transferring. There's no chance to do it." But I was gutted. I would have loved to have the chance to talk to Jimmy. he's a very interesting character. I appreciate he's a very, he's got some very out there views, and he might not be everyone's cup of tea. But I think he's a sort of a fascinating character, and I want sort of, if we're going to talk around having community, I think we need to sort of make sure that community is sort of open to sort of everyone, and I want to make sure that I understand different viewpoints, even if they're sort of views that I don't necessarily agree with. I want to sort of hear them, and sort of I think Jimmy's got a good sense of humour that we can have those kind of discussions. So I'm sure I'll probably end up talking to Jimmy again at some point soon. Sangfreud talks about, how about Spain? I thought the legal situation there is compatible with psychonautic exploration. It is, mate, yeah. So Spain is also someone that's on my list for this kind of this physical sort of retreat. It's kind of in my plans there. Portugal kind of takes the top spot, I'd say, at the moment, but Spain is certainly there. The only thing that kind of puts me, I won't say it puts me off Spain, but it's certainly a fact, it's just that Spain's quite saturated in terms of, well, first of all, it's saturated in terms of just English people. It's just so typically English, this English like retired to Spain thing, which is fine, but I don't know. I just feel like Portugal's better. The other thing as well is because of that, because Spain is so attractive in terms of a holiday destination and a retiree destination, the prices, the land prices are not as attractive as Portugal is. So Portugal's got a lot going for it. So yeah. So some comments around shamanism from Long Live Jargon. Should do retreats, but without the shamanism. Shaman stuff is unnecessary. I would agree, mate. It's not necessary, but it's certainly it's got, there is value in it. And what I tend to find is that usually people who go along this line of that shamanism is unnecessary don't fully understand what it is or what that value is that it's bringing. It's a bit like, to me, as a very simple comparison, it would be like, I would compare it to sort of going to participate in a live music situation. It's like, so why would you do that? It's unnecessary. Just listen to the CD. And I would say, well, yeah, you can listen to the CD, or CD. I sound like a fucking dinosaur. Listen to MP3s, Spotify, whatever. You can do that, but to be there live and partake of something is different. It's a different experience, and it has its own sort of value to it. To be in the sort of that group setting, it has value. To have someone lead a session like that has value. To do that within a structure, and that structure is called shamanism, but it could be any kind of structure. It has value, and I personally I find tremendous value in a shamanistic driven ceremony. I think it's easily up there with the most beautiful experiences of my life. So I just say be a bit open-minded there, mate. So someone's talking around the plant diets. You don't know what plant you're going to take. That's from Gabriel. Or Gabriel. Yeah. So in regards to when you go on one of these these plant diets, no, you go, the way it works is that you go there and sort of you drink ayahuasca, and then within that first ayahuasca ceremony, the shaman will sort of, the plant that you need to diet will be revealed. So the shaman will have some sort of insight saying, okay, you need to do this. So they will tell you what plant it is that you need to do. And that suits me absolutely fine, because I've got no idea what these plants are. I'm not going to sort of pretend like I know what it is. So that's the way I approach these sort of shamanic experiences, or these traditional experiences, I should say. You are surrendering to a different culture and to a different sort of experience, and I don't tend to go there and nitpick over the details. I go to a center where I feel that they have got my best interests at heart, where they're going to sort of look after me. And then here I am in South America, experiencing a completely different culture. To quote sort of Rick and Morty, show me what you got, experience. The universe has sent me an invitation. Let's see it. I'm not so, you don't pick what it is you sort of do when you're out there. So people talking around some of the foods that are dangerous to have when you're on these MOAIs. Yeah, so like things like caffeine are things to avoid. Chill Canuck says, why no spicy foods? Any data on this? I think that the main part with spicy foods, it's not that it's dangerous or anything like that. One thing that kind of comes bundled in with sort of ayahuasca is it does. How best to describe this without getting too graphic? Basically, it's your digestive system is going to go through some changes as you go through one of these retreats. Basically, and you could put it down to very, very simple sort of scientific reasons. You're eating extremely plainly. You're drinking sort of medicine which is notorious for making you throw up and or shit yourself. So when you have spicy foods, that will basically, you tend to find this when you get back from one of these retreats. When you come back from a retreat, you're supposed to have a sort of a tapering in back to normal food. And so one of the things they tell you to do is don't start eating spicy food too quickly, because if you do, you will find yourself just shitting yourself. And I've made this mistake of getting straight back into spicy food and just having just chronic diarrhea just sitting there like, oh my god, I shouldn't have done that. So I think that's the spicy food element, is just that it sort of interferes with you sort of with the stuff that you've with the kind of clean diet that you're on. I mean, there is a lot of sort of traditional talk around these things. People are saying that it kind of interferes with the sort of, with kind of the plant spirits and stuff like that. I personally, I don't necessarily subscribe to that. I think it's simpler just to think of it in terms of just making yourself comfortable, make sure you don't shit your pants kind of things. But some people say these will conflict with the experience. I don't necessarily think that's true. There's also an element around the diet of avoiding sex. This is also something that's supposed to conflict with the sort of medicine experience. I will hold my hands up that I have been on retreats with Rachel and that we have not observed the no sex part of the diet, and I've had some of the most amazing experiences of my life drinking ayahuasca, having had sex earlier that day. So some of these things I think are worth following. Some of these things I think I don't necessarily buy into it. It depends how much you get into this whole kind of thing of like retaining your energies and that sort of no fappy kind of thing, which I'm not super into. Okay, I think I'll just answer one last question before I just wrap this up, and this is from Alex again. Alex, do you practice breathwork? Have you ever tried it before doing tea? So I don't practice breathwork, Alex, but I have tried it, and it did have an effect on me. It had a very profound effect on me. I did it one time while I was on retreat. I was very skeptical about doing it, and it really worked. Basically, we did like an hour of like breathing exercise, like doing very strict sort of breathing, and afterwards I had this just emotional outpouring. It felt like I was basically I'd have to probably go into a lot more detail to describe it than what I've got time for, but I was impressed, I'll put it that way. I've not gone down the sort of route of getting into things like Wim Hof and doing all that stuff. I've got some friends who do it to various degrees of success. I think there's probably is something in there, but But I think, honestly, for me, I'm just too lazy. I don't think I've got. I can't be asked just doing that sort of that level of dedication just to sort of breathing. So my efforts in terms of extra practices tend to go towards meditation, also sort of drumming. So if I do like hand drumming, which I need to get into, I've not touched my drumming ages. So yeah, I think breathwork is. I think there's something there. I've had experiences with it. I would do it again, but I won't say I practice it. So, and on that note, I don't think there's anybody else who was waiting to speak. Nope. Cool. So yeah, guys, I'm going to wrap this one up, and I just want to sort of reiterate that. Well, first of all, thank you to everyone who's taken part, who's asked a question, who's posted in the comments. Hyperspace Holidays, who for coming and having a chat. I am going to do more of this. I think I'll probably go back to the schedule that I had previously, which was sort of doing it every sort of 2 weeks. So yeah, we can sort of have a chat, catch up. If there's anything you want me to sort of cover, you can send me a message, post it in the comments. But I do just want to, again, just make the point that I think the main platform which is best for me for interacting is Discord. So if you want to have a chat with me outside of this particular space, Discord is where you can just sort of ping me a message, and I pick it up there. I'd say that's where my biggest online presence is at the moment. Failing that, Reddit is probably my second go-to, and I say then Facebook and Twitter. Don't like them. Anyway, guys, always thank you so much. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me and watch my videos. And yeah, just sort of, I guess until next time. I think I probably need to work on my endings a little bit more, don't I? So I'll say until next time, and you guys take care of yourselves.